Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going way past the flashy marketing brochures and literally popping the hood on the financial and engineering blueprint of the Tesla Model 3. If you've ever found yourself wondering how to perfectly optimize your next vehicle purchase, well, you're in exactly the right place. We've got some incredible insights to share today, from a totally legal tax loophole to the absolute smartest way to buy an EV without losing your shirt to depreciation. So, let's jump right in.
Let's kick things off with a slightly provocative question. Is making the shift to an electric vehicle just a leap of faith for early adopters? Or is it actually a highly calculated financial investment? For a long time, the narrative out there has been that EVs are basically just expensive toys. But when we actually sit down and crunch the raw data, the math tells a totally different story. To get to the bottom of that, we're going to methodically break down a few key areas. We'll look at your specific driver profile, uncover a brilliant tax loophole that's basically hiding in plain sight, bust some of those persistent battery myths, reveal the absolute smartest buying strategies, and finally look at the whole Tesla ecosystem.
Okay, starting with Section 1, the ideal EV driver. Are you the perfect match?
Look, the absolute truth is that an EV isn't the perfect mathematical choice for literally everyone. But for some specific groups, it is a massive financial game changer. For example, if you drive over, say, 15,000 to 20,000 kilometers a year, you fall into what the data calls a high-mileage professional. And at that threshold, the operational savings you get from cheap electricity and virtually zero maintenance, they rapidly offset any of those initial purchase premiums. But hey, it's also perfect for urban commuters. You get to maximize regenerative braking and all that stop-and-go traffic, and you wake up every morning to a full tank just by charging at home. And if you're a serial traveler, relying on that incredibly dense supercharger network completely wipes out the logistical anxiety of long road trips. If you fit any of these profiles, honestly, the Model 3 is pretty much tailor-made for your lifestyle.
Moving right along to Section 2, the power and tax hack. Let's decode the UNECE R85 standard.
All right, so European legal frameworks have accidentally created this massive financial loophole for EV owners. Honestly, it's the secret to getting supercar-level performance without paying the supercar tax bill. To understand this, we need to talk about the UNECE R85 standard. See, in the EV world, power actually has a dual personality. First, you've got peak power. Think of this as your sprinter. It's that massive throw-you-back-in-your-seat surge of energy you feel for just a few seconds when you floor it from 0 to 100. But then you have continuous power, which is your marathoner. This is the maximum power the electric motor can safely sustain for 30 minutes straight without overheating. And here is the absolutely crucial insight. By law, it's only the marathoner continuous power that actually gets written on your vehicle's registration document under point P2. And therefore, that is the only number the government uses to calculate your taxes and insurance.
And this brilliantly illustrates the hack in action. Just look at the massive gap between these power ratings. If you go out and buy the standard rear-wheel drive Model 3, you're getting around 283 horsepower when you step on that pedal. But legally, you are only taxed on 120 horsepower. That makes its tax equivalent basically the same as a basic VW Golf. It is wild. And it gets even crazier if you look at the performance model. You get a mind-bending 500-plus horsepower, which is literal supercar territory. But your registration, it only shows 258 horsepower. So you get all the thrilling instant torque of a high-end sports car, but you completely dodge those luxury performance taxes. You end up paying the exact same recurring fees as someone driving a mid-range sedan like a BMW 330i.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, the truth about batteries. It's time for some myth versus data-driven reality.
It is definitely time we address the biggest anxiety for practically every prospective EV buyer out there, the fear that your car's battery is just going to suddenly die on you, kind of like a 2-year-old smartphone. Look, it's a total myth. Real-world data collected across literally hundreds of thousands of Teslas currently out on the road shows that battery degradation is incredibly low. On average, you're looking at just a 5 to 10% loss of total capacity after driving 150,000 to 200,000 kilometers. There's no magical expiration date where the battery just suddenly forces you to buy a new one after 10 years. It simply keeps working wonderfully, just with a very slightly reduced maximum range compared to day one.
But hey, let's be totally transparent here. What if something actually does fail? Well, today, replacing a full out-of-warranty battery pack is definitely an expensive pill to swallow. You're looking at anywhere from 8,000 to 12,000 euros. However, the industry is shifting rapidly. Thanks to much cheaper, incredibly durable LFP chemistries and just massive economies of scale, those costs are plummeting.
Fast forward to 2030, and the standard simply won't be replacing the entire pack. Industry giants like CAT-TL are aggressively moving toward what's called modular repairs. This means a specialized technician will be able to just swap out a single, cheap, damaged module. It completely transforms what used to be a catastrophic expense into just routine, highly accessible maintenance.
Next up is Section 4, Smart Buying Strategies. Let's talk about how to actually protect your capital.
So given all this incredible technology and the rapid market shifting we just talked about, how do you actually get your hands on this car without exposing yourself to a bunch of unnecessary financial risk? Your purchase method honestly needs to be as strategic as the car you're choosing. First off, buying in pure cash, generally discouraged from a strict financial perspective. It just immobilizes your liquidity in an asset that suffers heavy initial depreciation, what we like to call the innovation tax. A much safer route is financing or leasing with a guaranteed future value, or GFV. Think of this as the perfect shield. If some revolutionary new battery tech drops tomorrow and market values absolutely tank, you literally just hand the car back at the end of the term with zero extra loss. But what's the absolute smartest, most efficient move of all? Buying a fresh 2 to 3 year old used model.
And buying used works so brilliantly for the Model 3 specifically because of what we call the veteran factor. When you buy a 2 to 3 year old car, that first owner has already kindly absorbed all of that painful initial depreciation for you. Meanwhile, you inherit this physically mature, thoroughly debugged piece of hardware. But here is the real magic of it. Because Tesla is constantly pushing out over-the-air software updates, the car's brain is kept perpetually young. Your interface, your navigation, the features, they're updated to match the exact vehicles rolling off the assembly line today. So it's physically proven, yet digitally it feels brand new.
And that brings us to Section 5, the ecosystem and verdict. Why the Model 3 remains the benchmark.
You know, there is a very good reason respected outlets like Edmunds recently awarded the heavily updated Model 3 the title of Best EV of the Year. Its absolute secret superpower isn't just how fast it goes, it's absolute uncompromising efficiency. Consuming an average of only 13 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers means it can easily, effortlessly hit over 500 kilometers of real-world range. And the brilliant part is, it does this without hauling around some unnecessarily heavy, super expensive battery pack. This high efficiency translates directly to significantly lower charging costs for you and a much smaller environmental footprint during manufacturing. It literally does more with less.
And then, of course, there's the whole ecosystem surrounding that hardware. First, the supercharger network is flawlessly integrated directly into the navigation. You just type in your destination, and the car's computer mathematically calculates exactly where and for exactly how long you need to stop. It completely zeroes out range anxiety. Second, the physical maintenance is almost non-existent. I mean, without timing belts, clutches, complex transmissions, or oil changes, your long-term running costs absolutely plummet. And finally, the software fluidity. The central screen responds instantly, just like a high-end tablet, keeping you connected and in control in a way that, honestly, traditional automakers are still really struggling to replicate. I want to sincerely thank you for diving into this explainer with us today. By taking the time to really master these incredibly useful EV financial strategies, from leveraging those quirky tax regulations to fully utilizing the used market, you are now totally armed to make a highly calculated, intelligent investment in your own mobility.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder as we wrap things up. If a used, digitally updated electric vehicle outsmarts, outperforms, and outlasts a brand new internal combustion car, how exactly will traditional auto manufacturers survive this decade? Thanks so much for watching and keep learning.